show you the dark side.
You may try, but you cannot deny the truth. That is your family.
You're so right.
With a new Star Wars trilogy comes a new villain. This time in the form of Kylo Ren, who just so happens to be the son of Han Solo and the former Princess of Alderaan, Leia Organa, and was originally named Ben Solo in honor of Obi-Wan Kenobi, as it was the name that Luke knew him by. Now, opinions on Kylo Ren are pretty mixed. The natural expectation is that he simply could never live up to the likes of Darth Vader, and that is, of course, correct. Darth Vader is perhaps the most well-known and infamous cinema villain of all time, and I don't think that any movie baddie could ever top him. True, he's a pop culture icon now, with his likeness on literally everything, but still, as far as his portrayal in the films and lore are concerned, Vader was cool, calculating, and a deadly man. His strategies in combat were unmatched, his command of the Force superb, and his lightsaber skills were beyond deadly. You don't even have to be told that he's evil. If someone showed you a picture of him and you'd never heard of what Star Wars or Darth Vader was at all, you'd assume right away that he's a bad guy. So he is the one to beat. And does Kylo Ren do it? Well, no. But we never expected him to. Trying to top Darth Vader is like trying to remake The Godfather. It just shouldn't happen, or rather, it's something that can't be done anyways.
Kill them all.
But again, we expected this. So why is there so much hate towards him then if we knew this was coming? Well, it's twofold, I feel. One is that, yes, he is a total whiny bitch sometimes. He has autistic shit-fit tantrums and flips out when things don't go his way. You'd never see Vader behaving this way. I mean, shit, he even looks like a guy who would sit alone in his room crying and listening to My Bloody Valentine in Linkin Park on loop. Though to defend this, I feel like he's slightly justified. He's clearly confused, full of doubt and anguish. The light part of him still fights to surface, and the dark is tugging him under, compelled to follow in his grandfather's footsteps, calling on him for aid. Ren doesn't know what the hell to do with himself, and he's internally torn, struggling to figure out who he is, and perhaps fearing that he's just too far into darkness to do anything about it now.
I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it.
The dark side of the Force calls on passion and emotion as its core focus, and Ren is nothing if not full of emotion. Though his emotion is not properly concentrated, and that's why his powers don't seem consistent. When he's able to focus himself, his powers could rival that of Darth Vader, but as we've also seen, he can be defeated and easily overpowered, likely because for the most part, he's ultimately out of his element. It's like he's trying to go to a party and have a good time while a family member is dying in the hospital. I do feel, though, that given proper training and further submission to the dark side, Ren could become an unstoppable powerhouse of pure, unbridled dark rage. The other reason people don't like him is the one I want to address here specifically. The world has been up in arms over the fact that he's basically just a clone of Darth Vader. How so? Well, Darth Vader killed his master, who was also a symbolic father to him. Ren likely attempted to kill his master, but did not succeed, but in fact he did murder his father.
Thank you.
Both Anakin Skywalker and Ben Solo had high expectations put on them. Anakin was to be the chosen one, to bring balance to the Force, and Ben was the next step in the Skywalker family line, to be trained by his uncle, Master Luke Skywalker himself. Both were torn by the light in the midst of their darkness. Darth Vader eventually redeemed himself by destroying Emperor Palpatine rather than allowing Luke to be tortured to death. Though Ren may see this as a sign of weakness, and hence his headlong plunge into darkness when he killed his father, Leia still observes,
"There's still light in him, I know it."
Both were seduced by the dark side by some powerful overlord. Emperor Palpatine drew Anakin to the dark side through his promises of teaching him how to save the ones he loved from death. For Ren, it's unclear how Supreme Leader Snoke seduced him to the dark side, but we definitely know that, like Anakin's fall, there was some form of dark manipulation. Both are Jedi murderers. Darth Vader led the execution of Order 66 on the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, and Kylo Ren, along with the Knights of Ren, hunted down and killed all of Luke Skywalker's Jedi apprentices, enacting what is effectively a second Great Jedi Purge. Both forced their former master into hiding. When Anakin turned, both Obi-Wan and Yoda fled into exile, to Tatooine and Dagobah respectively. With Ren's fall, Luke was forced into exile on the planet of Ahch-To. Both were subservient to military generals. In A New Hope, we see Vader actually obeying the commands of Grand Moff Tarkin, and in The Force Awakens, there is a clear power struggle between Kylo Ren and General Hux, though in the end, Ren is forced to fulfill Hux's orders. Both were also involved with massive planetoid-like battle stations. Darth Vader's being the Death Star, and was used to destroy Princess Leia's homeworld of Alderaan. Kylo Ren was involved in the Star Killer base, and used it to destroy an entire Republic system in an attempt to wipe out the Resistance. Their suits are also very clearly similar. It's obvious that Ren drew inspiration from Vader's, but has obviously only done so for cosmetic reasons, unlike Vader, who actually needed it to survive. The same goes for the helmet. There are very clear similarities, but however, Ren's suit does have more shades of gray to it, which could symbolically reference his internal struggle between the light and dark, and that also applies to the helmets. While Darth Vader's was sharply edged and perhaps angled and jagged at points, Ren's is smoother and more convex over Vader's. This does suggest a bit more sensitivity. I know it sounds strange, but when you think of softer edges, you don't think of something as hurtful or violent. When you think of sharp, straight edges, it tends to be more authoritarian, more violent, and perhaps more evil. However, this does not apply to their lightsabers. Whereas one could consider Darth Vader's blade a tool of swift and absolute death, Kylo Ren's appears unfocused and chaotic, much like him. There are indeed a lot of similarities, and perhaps some may say that there are too many. But given Ren's relationship to Vader, I think it adds up. He's the grandson of one of the most powerful Sith Lords to ever live. That's not an easy thing to deal with, especially given that he's capable of great power, and this is something that is easily manipulated by the dark side. Not only was he vulnerable to corruption, but he soon began to idolize his grandfather in a twisted and dark way, and naturally their similarities come from his fanatical devotion to his grandfather's dark legacy. This is likely also the string that Snoke is using to tug Ren along into the darkness, by hanging that over him and using it as bait to push Ren further and further into his fall, likely promising him power equal to that of Vader's, or perhaps greater. And naturally, after such an inspired dark devotion, Ren would likely attempt to emulate many of Vader's actions, in an attempt to bring himself closer to the behemoth that Darth Vader was, by treading the same path. Though some of this is conjecture, I feel it has merit. I'm not trying to defend shitty writing or anything here, namely because I don't think the writing is shitty in the first place. Rather, I think this is a pretty genius design choice to set the character up with, given the bevy of things that could have been done, and done terribly, and thankfully they weren't. This was a wise choice to set him up with, as it'll provide some very interesting character development in the coming films. Because people forget, Darth Vader wasn't all that well developed of a character until the very end of Empire Strikes Back, and then throughout Return of the Jedi. For most of it, it was,
I'm evil.
Then,
I'm evil, but I still love you, son.
Until,
I'm not evil anymore, but I'm dead now, bye.
I'm not having a go at Vader or his design in any way by this. I love him just as much as everyone else. But I think people are forgetting that this is a thing, and perhaps should keep that in mind while critiquing Kylo Ren. And he may indeed offer far more character development in future films. At least I hope so. Whatever the case, as always, I'm excited to see where this will go. Until then, I'm Kenshin. Thanks for coming out, and may the Force be with you.